Welcome to our regularly scheduled commission meeting, Wednesday, April 24th. The time is now 7:22, and I do want to apologize and thank you all for your patience. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass. Here. Vice Mayor Irvin. Here. Commissioner Kelly.
Present.
Mayor Taylor.
Here. As we stand for our invocation and our pledge of allegiance led by Commissioner Bass.
Our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name. Father, we bless you for the opportunity, oh God, to serve. Father God, we ask you that we will serve, oh God, with dignity. Father God, we pray for our city. We pray for everyone that is here. Grant us grace and mercy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Clerk, do we have any awards, proclamations, or acknowledgements at this time?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we're going down to the approval of the consent agenda. Do we have any pulls, deferrals, or deletions at this time?
Yes. I would like to pull number 1.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, I want to pull number 2, number 7, and number 11.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so I have 1, 2, 7, and 11. All right. Can I have approval of the tonight's consent agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk, roll call for the consent agenda.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we're going to the approval of minutes, but I think we have an add-on.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we do need approval of the agenda, and we also have several add-on items.
Okay, so let's go to the add-ons and then we'll approve the nice agenda.
Yes. So we do have 2 items which would be included as 14. The first one would be included as 14-1, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing issuance of a request for proposals for qualified financial institutions, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by City Manager, and it would be included on the agenda again as 14-1.
All right, Mr. Manager, can you state the emergency nature of this item?
Yes, we just had a workshop on the HVAC system. As many of you all know, our HVAC system is old and dilapidated here within City Hall, and we're looking for the funds to secure it. In addition to that, we have several other very pending issues, such as the maturation of a bond that will require $3.2 million balloon payment in June 2025, as well as a deficiency in interest payments from our current bacon vendors. So all of these things severely impact and hamper the city in a financial way. We want to move forward with these items and hopefully be able to replace our HVAC system. The RFP is already out for the HVAC system, so we should have a vendor soon. Putting this forward will give us a means to actually make those payments. This is a dire need, as we did have about 2 months of reprieve there in November of 2023 and January of 2024, where our HVAC system really was underutilized. Starting in February, as it was in November, we started seeing breakdowns again, to the point we just recently had a breakdown of AC coverage in our server rooms. Our server rooms house all of our data. And at the risk of losing all the city's data, we actually opened up the doors, turned on the fans, and the hallway was extremely hot. We were able to get some emergency vendors in there, but we really want to move forward with this item so that we can mitigate this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Can I get a motion to add this item to the agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, and the second item, Madam Clerk?
Yes, the second item would be included as 14-2, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing issuance of a request for proposals for bond financing or refinancing, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager. And again, this would be 14-2.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Manager, can you state the emergency nature? Is this coupled with what you just,
Yes.
okay, moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, so can I get a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bass, Madam Clerk?
No.
Commissioner Kelly, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we're going into the approval of minutes, regular commission meeting minutes, March 27th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Bass, Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, approval of the minutes from City Commission Workshop Minutes, April 10th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
And finally, the approval of minutes from the regular commission meeting minutes, April 10th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kelly, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, Madam Clerk, I don't see District 1, District 2, or our state elected officials here, so we can move on. Do we have any public presentations?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so we're going down to number 11 Citizens Forum. Can you please state for the record how to participate in Citizens Forum?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City of Opa-locka Commission meetings are held in person at the Opa-locka Government Center, City Commission Chambers, 780 Fisherman Street, third floor, Opa-locka, Florida. Members of the public wishing to address the commission may do so in person or virtually. Those persons wishing to participate virtually should register prior to the scheduled meeting time on the city's website at www.opalockafl.gov. When speaking before the commission, please make sure to give your full name and address for the record. There is a 3-minute time limit for public comments. Please adhere to the decorum policy, which is a part of the commission meeting agenda. City commission meetings are aired through live stream at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka. And at this time, Mr. Mayor, we do not have any virtual public comments.
Okay, so for those of you that are in the chamber, Citizens Forum is open.
Brian Dennis, address 2140 York Street. It is amazing how a park plan came about all of a sudden. Now, I'm the chairman of the Community Relations and Park and Recreation and Activities Board. And I remember at the last CRA meeting, somebody was saying that we were trying to control something. One trying to control nothing, but you have to see things for what it really is. Now here, Ingram Park, from last year to now, would have been flipped and done. Everybody know it. 16-year-old boy from the city of Opa-locka works for a world-famous athlete who was going to flip that park and do all the work to it for nothing. It ain't concerned about no interest in and out of it or anything like that. So now all of a sudden, something that was so minimal now get ready to cause a problem. Now, we went from supposedly, where y'all stayed on the corner, a water park, to now we talking about homes. or townhouses or apartment buildings. Now we know sheetrock need to be done on every last one of these parts, especially where the old King Hospital used to be at. I mean, Lion Rock got to be dug into all the way to the ground, to the tip. But we have a thing of creating illusions like we are doing so much and we ain't doing nothing. In the words of Biggie Smalls, it was all a dream. So we see this. And it's been going on for a whole year. Now, I'm the chairman, so guess what? We would have had the Arabian Nights done this year. We already had the deals on the table. We already had the sponsors willing to come in from last year to now. But guess what we got? Nothing. Now, isn't it amazing that the very same weekend that you had the Arabian Nights, that Carol City and Central had something? I'm just saying. It looks strange when you trying to do something and you trying to do the wrong thing. How dare you be so arrogant in your ignorance?
Citizens Forum.
Good evening, Mark Cooper, 6801 Southwest 75 Terrace. I gave you guys a document, but I actually want to hold off until the city attorney's here, so I'll skip until she's here. Thank you.
Okay, Citizens Forum is still open.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, City Staff, City Manager, Alex Van Meckel, 806 Jan Avenue. I have two things that I'd like to say this evening. First, on a positive note, just a sincere, heartfelt thank you. I extend my gratitude to each one of you as the commission, the city manager, Ms. Lawson, Ms. Brown. We had an absolutely fantastic turnout with Manifest, an inaugural event that celebrates our community's identity and our heritage. For those of you that were not aware, it's something that took place at our historic fire station up the street, and we welcome several hundred Opa-lockans and the region to enjoy our city with a handful of performances. So needless to say, I just wanted to publicly thank each one of you for believing in it, the manager's office for supporting it. It was a very tasteful event that turned out quite well that I'm very proud of to have been a part of. On a second note, working here in Opa-locka for the nonprofit 10 North Group, formerly Opa-locka Community Development Corporation. We have a very exciting update for Opa-locka, for Miami-Dade and South Florida. And that is an initiative that started back in December that got revisited in January and has subsequently been coming up at the state level with the state legislator. And that is for the proposed location of a future Florida Museum of Black History. This is legislation that the governor and the legislator had proffered back early last year. 13 locations were presented back in December. 10 North was involved in essentially preliminarily pitching Opa-locka and the state regional complex just in front of this building. And it turns out, as of last week, we have now been made a finalist of 3 locations to potentially welcome a world-class institution, cultural facility, exhibition space, performing arts center. There's a number of different levels that are required per the legislation that would be funded by the state. Mayor Danielle Levine Cava, Commissioner Gilbert, Ashley Gant, our representative, Senator Jones have all put their backing to it. And we are in preparation of the May 21st meeting up in Tallahassee, which the mayor is aware of, and the city manager's office has also been supportive as well. We are nearing the finish line, and I just want to express this and make it aware as a resident and adopted Opa-lockan to the rest of the community, just how important, exciting, and positive this is for our community. That we even have a seat at the table in a very serious discussion about an important institution being implanted, not just in Opa-locka, but representative of all of South Florida and the Black community for the entire state of Florida. This could very well become the home for it. And needless to say, I just wanted to share that with the public and thank each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Citizens Forum, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you again, Mark Cooper. I want to bring
Mr.
something.
Cooper, let's start over. Do
Yep.
your name and
Mark Cooper, 6801 Southwest 75 Terrace, Miami, Florida. How are you? Good evening, everyone. I just want to bring something to your attention. This is not related to litigation, something else. Yesterday, there was a code enforcement hearing. I gave you guys what I presented at the hearing. I received a citation for a property that I purchased, but it was made out in the prior owner's name, so it was an easy citation. I went to the hearing, I provided in writing, thinking it was an easy case to win. And it became a struggle with the magistrate. She took about 5 minutes to try to contort every which way to figure out how she could make me guilty. Finally, she dismissed the case. So as I was going home, I was wondering why is this is the second time I've complained about this judge. And why is this judge doing this? And I've come to the conclusion that what happens is there's no city attorney present at those hearings. And I thought we already addressed this and you guys were going to have a city attorney there. So what it ends up happening is that the magistrate, who's supposed to be a neutral party, ends up taking the place of the advocate for the city. And it kind of blows up. It blows up the justice of the hearing. You're there arguing a case. There's no way I could lose this case. It's like I'm driving a car drunk. My passenger, we get stopped. He gets the ticket. I'm driving. It's here. There's no way he can lose. And I'm about to lose. And I'm wondering, not everyone has the time and the energy to come here or go to a hearing or write up a motion or all of that. And if I can't do it, not that I'm the greatest, if I can't get it done, there's a problem. And so the idea behind a magistrate hearing is the cities and municipalities are allowed to have their own judicial process. It's quasi-judicial to help tickets get resolved and, compliance get done. But if the city attorney's office is not there and the judge is acting like an advocate for the city, we have a problem. I was a member, Commissioner Kelly chose me a long, long time ago to vet the attorneys who were going for the city attorney's position when we had the former city attorney that was a mess. And I remember we were offered gold, frankincense, and myrrh to the services we were going to receive. And we're paying a lot of money. But at these hearings where it's due process and property rights and money rights, and it puts the onus on the property owners to then go appeal to the circuit court and spend the time and the money. Not everyone has it. I've done it. It's not easy. The city has a responsibility to present a product, a magistrate hearing, and a magistrate who's acting on behalf of fairness and not as the advocate of the city because the city attorney is not present. Please resolve this. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Cooper. Citizens Forum is still open. All right, hearing none, seeing none, Citizens Forum is now closed. So going back, Mr. Dennis, Parks Plan, we're currently discussing it. You were at the meeting today. Mr. Cooper, we will get an answer for you. We'll get an answer for you. Alex, we're gonna discuss that later on in the meeting, and thank you for the hard work for Manifest. It was a great event. All right, so we're gonna move on if we have no concerns from the commission, Citizens Forum. All right, going into our consent agenda, item 12.1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the city manager to conduct a feasibility study to explore the advantages and disadvantages of the city transitioning from a 5-day work week to a 4-day work week, starting fiscal year 2025-2026, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. This is my item. This is something that I proffered maybe a couple years ago, of taking our city to a 4-day work week, one that would extend the business hours here in City Hall, allowing people that get off at 5 o'clock access to our government building. However, I wanted to see what it actually would look like in the city of Opa-locka, which is why I asked for a feasibility study, which the manager would bring back to the commission, present it, and then the commission at that time with the manager would make a decision on whether or not we want to move forward with it. And it was pulled by Vice Mayor and seconded for discussion. So Vice Mayor, you want to?
Yeah, I'm just, even before the feasibility study, I mean, I'm thinking a 4-day, like we struggle now with keeping the city clean and stuff like that. Sometimes they're working 6 days a week opposed to 5 days a week. And now to cut it down to 4 days a week, I hear what you're saying about the us being there after 5.
But I'll say this, this wouldn't go for everyone. So certain departments would not qualify. But again, that's why we were doing a feasibility study so the manager can see, okay, maybe, obviously we know police will work 24 hours a day. Public Works will probably be working around the clock, but he has to bring it back.
Okay, because I read everything. I didn't see where it specified certain departments or which departments. So,
He would bring it back during the study.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you. Yeah, it's part of the study because every city is different. A lot of cities do have the 4-day work week, but every city is unique. So I would look forward to it coming back from the manager on the recommendation, and I'd like to co-sponsor it too. I think it's a good something to look at.
Yes, sir. I will accept. All right. Any other question on this item?
Not a question, Mr. Mayor. My concern, well, for me, I need to see the study first before I make a decision.
All right. Okay, again, we're only voting on the manager doing a feasibility study. And he'll bring it back and then we'll go from there. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass? Vice Mayor Irvin?
I thought she was gonna say something. Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes, and
Motion-
Commissioner Kelly asked to be a co-sponsor on this item.
Yes,
right.
got it. Motion passes.
All right, as we move forward to 12-2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, expressing the City of Opa-locka support for allocating a Florida Museum of Black History within the City of Opa-locka, allocating $50,000 for the hiring of a consultant, promotion of the Opa-locka Regional Service Center as the proposed site, and provide for communication support, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Vice Mayor Irvin.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Vice Mayor, this is your item. You can go ahead and present.
Yes. I thought it's something that we need to look into further since we started out, there was 12 cities that were interested. And we were part of that 12, and now we're down. We actually made it to the final 3. And I think that it will be something very nice to have in our city, Black Museum right here in our city. And that's where we are.
Okay, so this item was pulled for discussion. Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And let me just say upfront, I'm not opposed to history, Black history, being in Opa-locka, the center being in Opa-locka. I would love to see it, but I also have some questions. So let me just direct my questions and see how this transitions. From just hearing and reading, this process has been ongoing since December. And the resident just said that, but also from doing some research. I never saw it come before the commission in any form about a co-sponsorship, a co-supportership, an endorsement or anything. So let me ask the first question. Was that ever done? Was that ever brought forward for the commission to even support this item back when it started?
That's to the sponsor? Well, I'll say no. It was never brought towards the commission.
Okay, it wasn't brought to the commission. So let me just start there. And again, I appreciate what Vice Mayor is saying, but I'm always looking at the details. I always have a challenge when folks go out advocating, and it's nothing against the 10 North Group or any other entity that wants to bring things to the city. But I don't like, as an elected official, being brought in secondarily after things have started moving. For me, this should have been brought to the commission when it was first come up in the legislature, passed it, and proposals could be accepted. It should have been proffered then for the commission to be involved. I'm quite sure we probably would have supported it in some form. That's number one. Number two, we're talking $50,000 to support the application. I'm not sure exactly what that means, supporting the application, since it's already there. We're in the top three. And then it says to hire a consultant to promote the service center as the site. How would we as a city, given that they're going to meet again next month, middle of the month, hire a consultant that quickly through our process that would know and be able to do whatever it is we would want them to do as a consultant in promoting? How would that take place that quick? Because usually for anything or anyone to be hired, normally takes at least 3, unless it's an emergency basis. And I think you could knock it down to 7 days for something being out and come back in. So how would that work in terms of even hiring a consultant who would know what to do that quick? Because we're at April, the end of the month. The meeting is going to be in May. So how would that work? And then the final question that really is the one I want to get answered to. And again, I'm taking this information from the Miami Times article. So if I'm incorrect, because that's all I can go by, because there wasn't a lot of documentation in the backup. It says that the city would relocate the vendors or the businesses that are in the regional service center to the city municipal complex. So the space there would be for the Black Museum. Again, I have no problem with museums, so don't, leave us saying Commissioner Kelly's anti the museum. But I need to know, is that an accurate statement that we are agreeing or would be agreeing to relocating the folks that are in there, the agencies that are in there, into our municipal complex? Because that's what I read via the article. And again, I don't have anything else to go by, so I got to ask that question here. Is that part of how this process would be driven in terms of our proposal?
I don't know, Mr. I'm going to defer to the manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So we have not, administration has not had a meeting with 10 North on this proposal. So there's been no discussion with my office regarding this item.
Okay. Again, for the third time, I'm not against the Black History Museum coming here and showcasing South Florida and all of Florida, but that gave me a concern. I could even probably get past the consultant, because you probably could get someone, that could really help. That's the problem or the challenge I have with this legislation, because we're saying giving up space in this building to accommodate the museum that will be put there. So, Mr. Manager, you see that being doable? Because we need to, I guess, vote on it tonight to move it forward, to show our support for making it happen. But that's my concerning point. That's really because we're already having challenges here now with parking and whatever, and just space. So, yeah, let me just hear your thoughts.
Yes, we would, in order to be able to answer that question appropriately, we'd need to get an identification of who those vendors are, how much space do they need, can they be accommodated here? So we just need a lot more information regarding the perspective and the time frame. What would be the time frame that we would want to, they would want to be moved in? How long would we preserve the space? So need a little bit more additional information to be able to answer that affirmatively, sir.
So now here Commissioner Kelly sitting in the middle of opposing the Black History Museum. Not that I would mind, because I'm always sometimes by myself, but I like the idea. I really do, but that concerns me. Like I said, the consultant spending money to promote it because it does cost, but that is the real red flag for me. Because I don't even know how many entities are in there that would be possibly coming over that we would have to accommodate. And do we have the space to do it?
Commissioner Kelly, if you don't mind, let me weigh in a little bit because I was able to attend that meeting. To answer your question, the moving of the tenants in the state building is not the end all be all for that property. So that was just an idea that was proffered by the sponsor at the time, that if need be, the city can, and which will come back before the commission. So, but it has nothing, one has nothing to do with the other. One has nothing to do with the other. One has nothing to do with it. It's not predicated upon that.
When you say it's not, one has nothing to do with the other, Mr. Mayor, we're saying we're going to allocate $50,000 to go promote this, to come here. But you're also telling me that the location or relocation of the entities in there is not predicated on making this possible. I'm trying to see how they're separated.
Because the land, I'm not 10 North, so I'm just the land. They proffered that land, so they said this is the idea of where we can do it. So in every city that presented, it wasn't state land; it was just regular land. But the unique thing about Opa-locka is because we already have land. We were the only city that actually has land that's already owned by the state of Florida. So it.
Again, I understand that it has. I got the statement. My problem is if the manager could say to me or somebody could say to me, we got to relocate 4 tenants and there are 10 people. And so we can put them on the 3rd floor with no issues and I wouldn't have a problem. What I don't want to spend is money knowing that we're not even sure we can accommodate. And again, I'm only going by the article. So you're telling me that the article is not.
No, I'm just saying one has nothing to do with the other. But what I'm going to suggest, because 10 North is here,
Okay.
if the commission doesn't mind to let them speak on this item because they prepared it. If the commission does not mind. So 10 North. Because I don't want to say something that's wrong. Now, I will say this, and I brought this up in my agenda briefing with, well, Madam Manager, because she was there. I did not understand the $50,000 and the whole consulting thing and the reason where it's going, who it's going to, and why we're actually doing it. Now, I understand putting skin in the game because most cities that presented were putting skin in the game, but I didn't agree with the whole consultant versus us putting $50,000 maybe towards the project. But I didn't see what the consultant and the promotion behind it. And I think I expressed this to you in our one-on-ones that the meeting is less than a month away, and how we do procurement, like, we're not gonna have time to even hire a consultant. So I didn't even know what, but I understand that we do need to put skin in the game. But the allocation with the consultant, that child gave me pause, and I'm gonna use Commissioner Williams' word. So you are here to answer Commissioner Kelly's question.
Yes, sir. Hi, James Nixon with 10 North Group, Alex Benmichael with 10 North Group as well. So particularly to answer the question regarding consultant, is to your point, sir, Mr. Mayor, is truly to show that there is skin in the game. As Alex mentioned earlier, there has been a lot more concerted effort with the county mayor's office, the county chair, and at large to be able to show a concerted effort of Opa-locka being selected as the site. So the intent of that resolution was to be able to show formally that there is a commitment from the city of Opa-locka to participate in the site selection. To particularly answer the question regarding the relocation, in preparing the media alert, as mentioned, it was proposed that that is the site for the location. It was an intent to not create alarm to say, hey, if I work in that building, where do I go? And I think it may have could have been worded differently to say that the services in that building would be relocated. But you know, one of the things is to say, hey, we're or the site will become a new building, but people not particularly know where they will be working, or creating even more concern doesn't mean that I have no job or whatever the case there. So that sir is a misnomer, or we can further answer that question.
Okay, let me thank you for those answers. Let me go back to the beginning, because you went from the county to the, when did Opa-locka get involved? When was it brought to the city to say we are looking at proposing this? Because the manager said he has not had any meetings or discussion with anyone even about it. So when did we get involved or noticed or brought to the table or whatever?
So in December, there was a application submitted. Help me clarify, Alex. Submitted when the state was soliciting for potential sites. I believe it was at that time from the Main Street Association, correct? That presented, and then others like our entity learned of the initiative. So of course, being able to be a potential site for a real museum for the state, we started participating and learning more information and began to have rallying efforts. A lot of it was like in some of the communities, they formed formal committees amongst conventions and visitors bureaus, cities, counties, school boards. Opa-locka in our community didn't formally put together a committee, but we ended up taking the lead. We, as in 10 North, ended up taking the lead to aggregating participants. So we've had unofficial conversations or conversations throughout since that time, but as a formal stamp of the city of Opa-locka, we hadn't had that conversation. So.
Okay, and I appreciate you. Honestly, we weren't really invited at the table. We just got here yesterday, really, because the manager's not really aware. He's already said it, because I'm quite sure he'd have weighed in or brought it to the commission's attention. I happen to hear about it not from here, but from other folks that I know. Now, you're saying the relocation, you didn't want to bring, a lot of attention as to where those folks might be going, et cetera. So I'm going to still ask the same question. Since you have proposed, since you have made the presentation, and the idea is for that site, because it is a state site, to become the museum, where would those vendors, departments, whatever's in there, where would they go?
With it being a state facility, that would be up to the state and how they reappropriate or reallocate their usage of department space.
So we're not offering, or we have not offered to relocate them in the city facilities.
We as 10 North don't have that authority. I mean, this is.
No, I didn't say you had authority. I'm just
authority.
going by what I
Understood.
read from the article. So, and it seems to me it was inferred, if nothing more, that was coming from 10 North in the article, that would be part of the proposal presentation, that those vendors or those agencies in there would be coming to the city, because I just read it to make sure of it. So you're saying you all didn't profit that?
That's what I'm saying. In the media alert, that was something that we put in there to say that the tenants would be relocated. We probably went too much in detail, because that's obviously an option, but not a definitive. There's still feasibility studies being done for the particular site, including the state architects in partnership with FAMU and all. So that's more of a formal plan that the state would have to decide where they would relocate those departments.
Oh, okay. All right. So you put on the record. I'm going to go back. Thanks for the answer. I'm going to go back again. In terms of $50,000, I thought was really high given the short time frame. I do agree, you need to have some skin in the game, but I also think the city should have been more involved in the early part of this process. And I would just say that. And I know the boss real well, and I'll convey that to him as well. If you're going to embark on these kinds of joint ventures, which can be great for the city, we need to be brought in, the manager's office, obviously the commission if need be, brought in. I got a screenshot of my mayor standing next to your president giving a presentation. And I'm like, what is this? So when I start looking, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a nice idea, but I didn't know anything about it. So then when I get my agenda and see this item on here, I'm trying to figure out how can it happen that fast. So is it of your opinion that if we do not put some skin in the game, to use the terminology, it would not look good on the proposal that you're trying to do?
Absolutely.
Okay, then do you think that $50,000? I mean, is that the amount that gets the attention, or just the idea of making sure we have someone speaking on our behalf as a consultant?
Yes, sir. The $50,000 is appropriate. So it basically gives additional seed monies to be able to help with marketing. We've been working with Tallahassee and collaboratively. So the $50,000 was a strategically decided amount to show enough initiative to continue to get us out of the gates and be able to close with it. Now, in the sense of having the risk of it being canceled, if that number needs to be changed, of course, but ultimately the goal is and the need is to show that the city has a commitment into looking forward into the site.
Okay, thank you again for your answer. Mr. Mayor, since I pulled this item, let me ask the manager a question, because if we approve this, what we're saying is to hire a consultant to do whatever needs to be done. Number one, that means you'd have to craft something of what has to be done. Do you know all of that at this moment? And number two, to you and I guess the attorney, how could we get this done that quick? Because it actually, go out and probably got to come back, because you'd have to do this as some kind of RFP proposal, something. Would it be allowable for us to come back that quick? Madam Attorney, I guess, Mayor to the attorney, or some way, because of the urgency, to allow the manager to do that, put it out in the 7-day forum versus the normal. How long? What's the normal process, Mr. Manager?
21 days, sir.
No, 21 days. 21 days takes us actually almost to the presentation, which would not be a good fit. So, Madam Attorney, is that even possible or doable?
I think that's really a management question. Respectfully, I don't, I think they can put together in a process that you all direct, but that's really
No, I'm saying I know you can put together, but in terms of the amount of time required to go out, come back in, not the proposal itself.
I'm not aware of any requirement that says that you can only have a certain number of days. I think if you deem it to be an emergency and you think you can get a provider to do the services that are outlined by the manager in his agenda report, then that's something that you can consider.
Okay, back to the manager, please.
So, so we did begin to look at this, anticipating that if it passed, how would we respond? So we have begun to put together some ideas of packages and RFPs and marketing and proposals to bring to the commission. We would have to have a quick meeting turnaround time with the 10 North Group to find out where the needs are as this moves forward with consultants, and what would be the services of the consultant, and how would this consultant be deployed and utilized and things like that. At best, one of the things that I put to the team is, could this be something that would be broken down and perhaps service in two different services? So maybe one service would be $10,000, one service would be $5,000, one service would be a different one, and maybe not the same vendor for every single one. That way, we could do the procurement that is less than $25,000, which allows us just to get 3 proposals, as you know, and move forward. So once we did receive this, we did begin looking at how we could implement it. And that was just one of the ideas, or at least the idea that I put forward to the team. Also, listening to what the city attorney said, if we're just looking at one vendor, we'd be more than willing to we have to do this in the city of Opa-locka quite frequently. We not only publicize our RSPs, but companies that do the services that are that we're looking to provide for the city, we call them and ask them, please submit a proposal. We'd be interested in seeing what you could do for the city of Opa-locka. Maybe that's something that we could possibly do here so that when we put it out, we can have maybe a shorter time period because we know we're going to have at least 2 or 3 companies that are going to offer their services.
See, that's,
Mr. Mayor,
sorry.
I just want to state
One
for the,
second, Madam Attorney. You were finished, Mr.?
No, I'm not finished, but I'll yield because I'm, if she's talking about the same,
yes, I just wanted to state for the record, if you're headed in the direction of what the manager is suggesting now, that's a different issue and we would have to revise this resolution. That wouldn't be an RFP. So
Correct.
just putting it out there.
okay, so I understand fully the 25,000
Yeah.
under your threshold. And if it was that, then it'd be a whole different discussion. But because this is 50,000, that's why it takes on a different connotation. And that's why actually did you have to have 50,000 to make this work? Because, and I know you want to make it seem we got skin in the game, to use the mayor's word, to show we're committed, but to get it done and get it to you or whoever to make the presentation proposals, it's going to be very challenging to just do 50,000 because that requires a whole different process. Even if he is able to go out and find some folks interested, you all talk later tonight, meet in the morning, and you get out. It's going to be very challenging to get it back to commission, pass, get it to you all, make a presentation without it seeming very unprofessional or on whatever. If we're going to do this, and this is my opinion, if you're saying the 50,000 you've got to have as the proposal to present, I think that's more challenging. I think the 25 or 24,999, which allows the manager more flexibility for consulting or whatever. And I don't mean do it twice, Mr. Manager, 24, you know. But I think that's more doable. I'm just saying to the sponsor, I think we want to support having the item pass and have museum here, since you're indicating that the whole moving of the folks piece is not on the table. That's something they would have to deal with. So I can support that. But I would say to the sponsor, 50,000, the way our process works, is going to be very challenging to get done, get back, and make it efficient. So I'll just put it out there as your item. So I'll let you decide how you want to do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Madam Sponsor?
If the manager feels that we drop the price will be the cost to be the easiest way to get it out, then I'm okay with it.
Yes, if it's below the 25,000 threshold, yes.
So I'm assuming that we're pulling the item?
Or
what are we,
perhaps
what are,
amending it to 25,000
What are
instead
we
of
doing?
50,000?
Yeah, so that it doesn't hold up the process.
if it's going to be 24,999, then we don't even have to vote on that. Because it's
But I think Ms. Mayor, I'm sorry. I think we're voting because
Yes.
if I'm hearing correctly, they need to show that the city is officially behind it. Because right now, even though he made a presentation and we're saying we're going to do it, I think the resolution also encompasses the fact that the city is supportive. I don't put words in your mouth because y'all don't pay me, but am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So I got the money side, but I think the resolution probably still needs to go forward. Even if you put 24,900 in there, but the resolution still needs to go forward for you all to say the city is behind it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well. Vice Mayor Jordan.
Okay, so Commissioner Kelly's amendment is to change the amount from $50,000 to 24,999.
That's under special.
dollars.
And that gives them more flexibility. He doesn't have to come back to us, and it keeps the process rolling. Now I'm telling, I'm just gonna put on the record right here. I don't want to hear about them vendors trying to come over here all of a sudden without us knowing about it, without some kind of process that can be handled. Okay, that in advance. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you,
All right.
Vice Mayor.
So Madam Vice Mayor, do you accept the
The
Amendment.
amendment, yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote on the amendment. To move the $50,000 to 24,999. Can I get a motion on the amendment?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Madam Clerk, on the amendment.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, so then now we're gonna actually vote on the item with the amendment included. Can I get a motion? No, we already did a motion. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we're going now to item 12.7.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, ratifying the city manager's decision to change the scope of services for the police department demolition and rebuilding relocation project, and further authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the agreement with Diamante Construction and Development, Inc. to include additional work to relocate the new police department command staff offices in an amount not to exceed $77,650 in a form acceptable to the city attorney, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
Can I get a motion? Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Mr. Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you all are aware, sometimes we encounter circumstances that we didn't expect in the development or building or even here as a demolition. This was a project to demolition the old site for the police station, which, as you know, was ripped with asbestos. We also found at that time that the grounds contained fuel tanks that were not registered with the county, that were not registered with the state. And we believed there were to be 2 fuel tanks there. Once we started the demolition and the developer was mobilized, we determined that we were found that there were actually 3 fuel tanks that were there. None of these were, as required by law, registered with the county or registered with the state.
I think.
Yeah,
This
this is
is-
on the wrong
we're doing
item.
number
You're
seven.
Wrong.
Yeah, 7.
Oh, for the command staff.
He's
Okay.
gonna let you just keep talking. too.
Yeah, I was trying to. We're here on the wrong one. Okay.
Set up well, there are a couple ratifications here. So I do want to address the things of ratification. This came up in Commissioner Kelly's commission meeting. And what we have done to address ratification is we're putting forth a policy to determine when the triggering factor is for ratification, so that an email will go out to the commission and say, hey, we're going to, whether it's a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, a ratification will be coming because we found a change in the circumstances of development. So here, this particular one was my apologies. Here, this one was the particular one was for the command staff. The original scope of services did not include the command staff because the command staff was going to remain where it is in perhaps the future mayor's chambers. So we absolutely had to amend this scope of services so that we can move forward with moving the command staff downstairs. And as you all know, to stop a developer and then restart them or even re-engage them or restart the RFP process could cost, tens of thousands of dollars. So that was what occurred with this ratification here. But again, the overarching statement that I want the commission to be aware is that we're putting policies and procedures in place to trigger immediate notification when a ratification may be coming.
All right, Commissioner Kelly, you pulled this item.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Lawson gave you the whole speech, didn't she?
Yes, sir, she did.
I know she did. Thank you. I look forward to whatever that trigger is, because when I saw, and I didn't pull all of them, all of these ratifications, it always gives me concern for some of them. Now, the tank you mentioned, I know that's can be health and safety, so that's a different type. But with some of the others, especially when we're going to be paying for it or doing it out of budget amendments that are going to be coming forward, that always is something I don't really like to see, where we're already knowing we're going to spend these dollars out of a future budget amendment. I don't think that's good practice, especially as we get out of financial emergency. That's why I said that. So whatever you determine or whatever that trigger or whatever that is going to be, that process, I look forward to seeing that. And that's why I pulled it. So good job, Ms. Lawson. You got him on point there. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion on this item? All right, the only question that I do have, Mr. Manager, I did ask this in my agenda briefing. Will there be more monies for the police department?
I'd like,
Because we're doing a lot.
I want to look at the chief of police if he's in the room when I
No,
answer this
because,
question.
I'll
the
say this
answer-
and I,
Because the answer, sir, is absolutely not.
all right, because it's a lot of money going, and I love the police. No, it's nothing against the police, but then we don't have the playground, and we say we can't find money for a playground. So I'm a little so that's my only concern. And I'm not against, I just want to make sure, because it's like every other meeting, it's ratification and adding, and no, it's not grant.
And Mr. Mayor, to add to it, because I brought up the same thing, but I think one of the reasons why I didn't have such a challenge with this one was because the space down on the first floor was Career Source. And of
Mhm.
course, they were there when we first started this process. And of course, they moved out, which freed up that corner area. So it makes sense to have command staff and everybody in the same place. I shared the same concern about how much more we got to put into it, but I certainly understood and understand having your command staff in the same place. And I wouldn't have liked that. So I'm kind of glad in essence that Career Source did move out, because have your command in one place and the other folks would not be a good fit. So I'm hoping to, and we love the police, but yeah, no more.
No more.
Unless it's just, and I asked this question because of the HVAC system and that you're putting in, that it's totally separate from the other part that we're going to be doing. So as it stands now, the police be in good shape. So if something happen, you go to the police department because they'll be hurricane proof, bulletproof.
They got the best seat in the house.
They got the best seat in the house.
So we call it the Taj Mahal.
Well, that's why you call it
Clearly.
Taj Mahal. But yeah, I had that same concern. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so that's my concern, and we can move on. We can call the question.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, and the last item on the consent is 12-11.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving, denying the serving and or sale of alcoholic beverages for the I Love Soca event to be held at the City of Opa-locka Indoor Flea Market site on May the 25th, 2024 and May the 26th, 2024. Further, authorizing the event to continue after 12 a.m. midnight until 3 a.m., providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Mr. Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this particular item is an item that comes through our community development department through its special event application process. If you have any additional questions regarding this item and the preparation thereof of the same, we have our zoning official, Mr. Gerald Lee, from our community development department here to answer questions you may have.
All right, this item was who pulled it? Commissioner Kelly, so let you start, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the process has to come through and be approved because our laws say 12, et cetera, so forth. I got that. I have challenges going to 3 a.m., number one. And the second, to have alcohol going to 3 a.m. And I know that's considered a industrial, commercial, no people, but when I think of that many people, alcohol, and I know they ain't gonna be in that building. They're gonna be all over the place. When my neighbors down the street have a party with 3 cars, I hear it till whatever. So I can just imagine going to 3 a.m. I'm not in support of going to 3 a.m. I understand people like to have a good time and all of that. And I know to get approval for the alcohol, they got to come to the commission, but I'm not in favor of going to 3 a.m. for anything like that. And I see where they've been other places they've had this. So I'm intrigued as to why they would come here as opposed to not go back where they went before and coming to the city. But I can't support 3 a.m. No, I just can't support 3 a.m. and selling alcohol and having something outside is just too challenging. And I know they're going to say they're going to have police or security or whatever, But I think 3 a.m., I would not be in favor of that.
Gerald Lee, Planning and Community Development Department.
One second,
780
Mr. Lee.
Fisherman.
You, any other concerns?
I'm just gonna say that I support the item. I support the item. I don't have a problem with the 3 a.m. based upon where they're located in clubs. We have a 24-hour club. And you go to a lot of these places that are open, they're there till late. They're there late. Nobody's really stops a party or function at 12 o'clock. Most times. So I do support the item, even being at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m.
Okay. Any other concerns on this item? Or do you want to hear from Mr. Lee? I will say this, I support it as is. I just want to make sure there is a public safety component to this. Cause it is 3 a.m. So
I agree with
that's
that part.
the only thing I want to make sure, like,
Yes, there is a public safety component, not only through our regular process, but definitely through our special
and that's
event.
the 50 people or more.
That's
you have
for
to
the
have a-
regular process. For special events, they actually have to confer with the police department. And I will has that already been proffered in the package, Mr. Lee?
I believe it is.
Okay,
Yes.
so yes, that is part of the process, sir, and we
Okay.
will enforce it.
I just want to make sure that there is a public safety component added to this, because like Commissioner Kelly said, 3 a.m. is a long time. And that is in one of our main streets. I just want to make sure that safety is, yeah. All right, any other questions on this, or do you want to hear from Mr. Lee, or we're good? Because we can call a question. All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
No,
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1.
All right, we're going into new items, which will be 14-1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the issuance of a request for proposals, RFP, for qualified financial institutions, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
All right, can I get a motion? Moved by Commissioner Baz, second by Vice Mayor. All right, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Very, very excited to bring this item forward, and thank you to the commission for allowing us to bring this forward, and the city attorney on an emergency basis, given what occurred with our HVAC system. But particularly for the opportunity to speak again, as I have in the past, regarding the current city's banking service. Our current bond agreement ties us to the bank that issues the bond agreement for all of our financial services. And from my perspective as your city manager, I believe that the city, and also I'm in agreement with the finance director, the city has had to endure several abuses as to being tied to that agreement. One of the least of not of which is the lack of receiving interest payments on our checking accounts. There are several solid accounts on any given day that may have $18 to $33 million in them, and for those. Since I've been your city manager, we've been managing those funds and then moving them and consolidating them into singular accounts. They were laid out and across 86 accounts, which makes it very difficult to have a significant presentation of funds. Once we started consolidating those accounts, and you have an account with $33 million in it and you're not getting any interest, we're looking at a loss of anywhere between $200,000 to $250,000 annually. We've addressed that issue with our current vendor. We've made some progress. They still continue to charge us fees, but at least they're paying us some interest payments. But we're continuing to feel and experience challenges. And we just know, having had some of the conversations, that we could do so much better for the city. There are banks out there willing to do workshops for our residents, assist them with buying homes, and provide free services to our employees every payroll period. And we just want to see what's out there, and that's what this RFP does, to see what kind of better services we can provide for our residents, for our employees, and for the city.
Okay. All right, any questions for the manager on this item? All right, Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
yes,
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, next item, 14-2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing issuance of a request for proposals, RFP, for bond financing or refinancing, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Mr. Manager?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So this is a companion item. As I said before with the previous item, we can select a different bank if we want to, but so long as the current vendor holds this bond, holds our bond, we're stuck to them through that bond agreement. So we want an opportunity, and this is an opportune time. We could utilize these funds, as we've discussed, to perhaps do some parks improvements if we get us enough funds, but also the very much needed to replace our current HVAC system. In addition, it's a timely time to look at our bond refinancing, as this bond, we've paid out down all of our bonds except for this one, and this bond comes due June of 2025, and that would be a payment of $3.2 million. We currently haven't budgeted for that such a payment, so we'd like to refinance that bond. There's a bond council has already been approved, and this RFP is contingent upon them weighing in on that. So I think we're now prepared to move forward on with this agreement, and we look forward to hearing consensus from the commission.
Okay. Any questions for the manager on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
I don't have a question, but I want to thank the manager's office because I said we should have done this a long time ago, considering that most banks that deal with cities offer them a variety of services, and we weren't really getting anything from them other than putting our money in the bank. So I'm glad to see us going this route. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Mr. Manager, the only thing I requested to see a side by side. But we can do
My
that.
apologies, sir. I thought that was already
So we can do that. I didn't see it because we just got it. So
okay.
we can do that before we bring it back because you put out for RP anyway.
Yes,
right, so
it's
we're
been
good.
emailed to you, but I also have paper copies. I'll get it to you, and then I'll set up a meeting to discuss.
Got it. All
Yes,
right. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. Next item is an ordinance 16A1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Chapter 2 entitled Administration, Article 1 of the City of Opa-locka's Code of Ordinances to add new section 2-8.6 entitled Outside Employment by the City Employees, providing for severability, providing for conflict and repealer, and providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor, second
Second.
by Commissioner Bass. Simply put, the city doesn't have a policy for outside employment. This came up during while we was negotiating the manager's contract. We right now have adopted we go by the county's ordinance for outside employment. So what this ordinance does is just simply adopts what the county has already set in place to be put as one of the city's ordinances. That's all it is. Nothing has changed.
Yes.
It's a
Uh,
public hearing, but I do have a question.
oh, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. All right, and I will take questions. That's my you.
I do have a question. I support it. I like it. I just have one concern because there was a time that I was employed by somebody. What I don't agree with the amount of income expected reporting how much money I'm expected to make on my second job or my outside job. What does that? I know you didn't write it, but I don't think that should be a part of this. You didn't mention down here again.
Oh, okay. She's referring to the amount of income expected to be earned. Application shall be updated with any change in annual expected income at the earliest possible time, which may require reconsideration for application. That part? You don't think the person should report the income that they're receiving from another job?
Correct.
Okay. And again, this is the county's ordinance.
I would tell the county the same thing because I mean, in my situation, there was a situation where I was making more money self-employed as I was making on my job, and I was okay with that. But the problems that came for me with my seniors became an issue. And we have to realize that people do have it brings about an issue.
Got it. But let me ask this question, Madam Attorney, or to the clerk, because you're more familiar with this process. Certain positions in the city of Opa-locka are sworn positions, and they do have to file a I don't know what that form is that talks about income.
Financial
Financial
disclosure.
disclosure, thank you. So how would that work? Would this need to be amended to say those positions or?
I'm okay with it.
So, Mr. Mayor, right now, as it stands, Miami-Dade County Court, ordinance with regards to outside employment, applies to all full-time municipal employees, and not only for Opa-locka, but in Miami-Dade County.
Okay, so this is standard straight across the board.
Yes.
All right.
And let me correct myself, all county and municipal full-time
Municipal, okay.
employees, yes.
Well, Vice Mayor?
Because
it's what's already in place. So
yeah, well, I won't support that.
all right, Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I never liked that either, but it's in there somewhere. The question I really have is the application, or when you fill out the form, as you call it, for notifying you got outside employment, it has to be approved by the city. Or not? Is it just a requirement that you fill out the form notifying the city, or does the city have a process would be approving it or not approving it?
There's two processes here. The first process is it would be if it's a city employee, because the commission has no jurisdiction.
Right.
The city manager, which is what it stands today, will have to approve it through, I guess, through the department chair or however they work it. But if they are a charter officer, then the commission, because we hire them, will have to approve it.
No, I'm not talking about charter officers. I'm talking about other employees.
No, it
outside
would go
charter.
the same process that it is now.
Because I'm saying that because one of the challenges to happen back years ago was depending upon the manager, some folks could get outside employment, some folks wouldn't get approved. And then it wind up becoming an issue to the personnel board at that time used to actually hear those things of outside employment that you had to file with HR, and then HR notify the board, and you go before them and say, I got an outside job, it ain't going to interfere, blah, 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 and they would approve it. Because there were some managers and or supervisor, whoever's in charge employee did not want them to have outside employment because they just felt like whatever reason, not fair, but they would say, you can't have it because of whatever the reason. So the way this is worded, the manager has to approve it, or is it just a sign off since this is the county zone?
The way the county has it, the manager will have to approve it. That's the way that's what it is today.
Okay,
And
so
in the city of Opa-locka, it would be the same because we just adopted what the county has already, because we have no policy on our books.
So if I'm an employee and as the vice mayor just said, I can make more on my second job than I do here, but the manager, for whatever reason, decide they don't want to approve it, I'm just stuck.
The way it stands today, yes, sir. And
I mean, the way this would be,
the way the county has it now, yes, sir.
I believe there's some language in there that allows some deference. This is.
I'm amenable to change.
No, I don't say this is only first reading. So
that's what I'm saying.
I'll support a first reading, but I think and I'd like the attorney to look into that as well. I think that it's not that there's some deference because there have been cases, and I'm going back historical now, where folks have sued cities and or government because they wouldn't let them work And, you know, they felt like they were being unduly, whatever you want to call it, but I'll support on first reading and then.
Just so I
see
know
what I-
what to research through the mayor, are you suggesting, Commissioner Kelly, that it be some process, like for instance, if there was an appeal, the appeal would be to the city commission?
Well, yeah, back then it was to the board. I mean, just the appeal or whatever the reason for it. Yeah, there's some kind of process if that exists, some
So
kind of
I-
deference.
what I-
But
what
I
I'm
mean, it has
saying
to
is-
be triggered by something. It can't be just, I don't like the fact that the manager said I, you know, didn't approve it. It has to be
Right.
some kind of.
But what I'm suggesting is we lifted this from the county. So are you suggesting that you'd like to see a process? Because I don't think that would be problematic if we were to have a process that like an appeals type process. And so, but the only appeal you could make of the manager would be to the city commission because nobody's higher than in the administration than the manager, right? So if you're suggesting that it be an appeal, the only place would be the city commission. So is
Well,
that what you'd like to see?
I'd like to, if you're saying the county doesn't have any kind of deference, I'd like to see something, to see how that would look. I'm not saying that we would do that, but I just, you know, would have a comfort level that if it were to occur. And it's not that the manager, somebody wanted to work, would not want folks to make money if it doesn't interfere. But I just would feel comfortable if we did have something in place to address it if it were to come up. I guess
So
that-
with that, it would need to be an amendment for this.
The only-
Well, I'm gonna do my own research, so I'm gonna support it on first reading as is, and then I'll, you know, go ahead, Mr. I'm sorry.
No. The only concern that I have with the appeal process being that they're not our employees. If we don't create the board that handles that, if they do bring it to the commission, we're now stepping in uncharted territories that we're not supposed to be in. So I'm a little.
Well, that's why I said I'm gonna support it on
Okay.
first reading, and I'll do my own deference because although you're saying, if that's you. and
No, I
like
agree,
Sir
but I
said,
just don't.
I can't make money on my second job. I'm making more, and I need to feed my family. That becomes a big issue. So, but I'll support on first reading and do my.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
no problem. Madam Clerk.
Well, one quick question. I'm sorry. So we have employees right now that have second jobs already. Would they be grandfathered in?
This has nothing to do with already taken in place because the manager has already approved. And remember now, we're just adopting the county's policy as a city of Opa-locka's policy. Right now, we fall up under what the county's already doing.
Okay.
Everybody got a second job.
Because everybody has, that's what she said.
But-
She,
but-
everybody got a
but-
second job.
But to answer her question, it would need to, because yearly you have to come back and have this reviewed. So after this is passed and it's approved by the state, it would need to start a process. And there would have to be a form that, you know, has all of these things in it that are referenced in the
But doesn't that, like
policy.
you said, come up yearly? So they have to do it anyway, correct?
Right, but what I'm saying is in order to be compliant with all of these things, that's going to be in place. It starts then. It starts after it's passed. So whoever's doing outside employment, they would be filling out the application. The manager would just approve them again, I guess, and you start your process from after this is passed. So you know, there's no grandfather. I just want to make sure that it's, you know, it's clear for the record.
Okay. And I still don't like that people, you have to tell people how much money you making.
Leave it blank.
Exactly. All right, Madam Clerk.
Then you be looking for your 3 minutes up there in front of us.
Commissioner Bass,
No.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yeah.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You want to say something?
No, because what I heard was this is already policy. If I heard correctly,
We
It's
said we
already-
didn't have one in place, so we were adopting the county.
no, but if I heard the clerk correctly, we automatically fall under it. Maybe I didn't hear that correctly.
What I'm thinking is that it may not be known what the county's policy is. And so this clarifies what the policy is for the city. So this has to do with outside employment. This is basically, the county's policy. And this is intended to clarify. So it's not an issue of you disagree with the county's policy. It's, it was just making it clear.
No,
So,
I disagree with the
no, I
county's
understand,
policy.
but I'm saying it's making it clear that this is,
That's my point. You disagree with it, but it's still policy. So I don't want employees who may have outside employment to think that because we don't pass it, that they don't, the manager sends them whatever form or sends them something and say, you need to let us know, even though we failed this, I mean, it didn't pass, it's actually already law. We just not doing it. Correct?
Madam Vice Mayor?
Madam, I'm sorry.
Yes,
So yes, on a yearly basis, probably about, so the outside employment is due in July of every year, the form, per the county code. All employees receive an email from me 2 months prior to that due date with the county code on outside employment, and we utilize the county form. So they're still subject to the outside employment, filing.
okay, let me ask
was the
you,
form?
do we have any such forms, applications on file?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
That's all.
not mine, no. I'm not,
You're not a full-time municipal
I don't want
employee.
to leave here thinking that we're kind of separate from what the county, the policy is the policy. So I don't want to leave here misunderstanding what the policy is. So, okay. Thank you very much. You just, sign.
okay. We are on 16-2, A2.
an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, providing for the approval, denial of small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map for a 7.58 acre parcel located at 1700 Service Road and identified by folio number 08-2122-005-2170, amending the land use designation for the property from low moderate density residential to an industrial land use designation, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
And can I get a motion? Explain first. If I could, Mr. Manager, this is your item, if you could explain.
Thank you. Absolutely, Vice Mayor. So this is an item coming from our Community Development Department. This is, first it has to go through, be presented to the PZAB board for their recommendation and their advisory to you. It's a land use amendment, changing the land use so that a facility could be, additional facility type can be put on the site at Cuyahoga. PZAB had recommended that the commission deny this application, but we're still required to present it to you for a vote. And as this is a public hearing item, we have, we open up public hearing, and then we also have our Community Development Department available for a presentation for you as well.
Thank you. Now, can I get a motion?
Move it. I don't want to be out of protocol, Vice Mayor, so I didn't get a second. No.
No.
Okay, let me just say this, and the attorney can correct me if she's there. I think by what the manager just even said, by law, we're required to bring this forward for a hearing of a denial or approval. I think if we're not getting a second, I guess that's the signal that we are outright denying. But I want to make sure that if that's the case, we're fully aware so we don't find ourselves in any challenges later. But sorry, been an answer.
just due to the circumstances surrounding this item and letters that have been presented and the history of this item, I would recommend that you all hear the item and make your decision after hearing the item. So I would recommend that somebody give a second for the item so that you can hear the item, because that could be an issue.
I'll second it.
Okay. It was motioned by Commissioner Kelly and second by Commissioner Bass. And it's a public hearing item. Public hearing is open.
Who you left, so she can have a room.
Good evening, Audrey Dominguez. Jan Avenue, I am a member of the Planning and Zoning Board. This item was presented to us and it was denied due to several factors. They want to build a warehouse furniture headquarters or quarters. It's a beautiful project. I'm not gonna lie, it's beautiful, but they're trying to change it from residential to commercial. And there's a lot of things that came about that we did not agree on. For instance, the proposed change will create an excessive increase in traffic, congestion, otherwise it would affect the public. This will create a drainage problem. And the proposed use will result in more concrete asphalt than what the current zoning permits. This will result in a greater runoff of rainwater into the waterway system built to serve the residential population. There's a lot of other reasons why we didn't agree on it. I think that although we just recommend, is up to the commission to vote on it, and I know that they've brought it to us. However, it did not go through, but I noticed that in the workshop, there's a property that I guess partial belongs to the city, and it seems similar to their property. So I'm kind of confused if that property belongs to them or to the city. If I could get clarity from the manager. So that's basically it. We did not approve it because of those factors. Thank you.
How are you? Good evening, Mark Cooper, 6801 Southwest 75 Terrace. I don't live in Opa-locka. I know the property. When the owner bought it, they knew it was contaminated. It's been contaminated for a long time. It used to be a landfill. It was owned by another company. They were going to develop it. They desisted during the financial crisis. The new owners bought it. I think Opa-locka needs more residential space, number one. Number two, a lot of the time what property owners do is they buy a property that's derelict. You get the zoning changed, and then you sell it as a development site. And so the value of the hearing today is once they change the zoning of it, the owner sells it out. I know Madani. They buy it. They're a new company. They develop it. And what happens at these hearings is once you guys start on the change of zoning train, right now you control the process. But when later the zoning is changed and they bring you a project and you say no, there's a threat of a lawsuit. I was at a similar hearing for another property in Opa-locka. You ask legal, what's our position? And legal's answer at that hearing was, well, in America, you can get sued for anything. And it kind of left you guys in the air. You didn't know which way to go, and you had to approve it. So today you have control. If you approve the little bit of change, you lose control. So I suggest you don't lose control. You make it residential, and you grow the base of families in Opa-locka, get people in the parks and people involved in the government, and not bring another industrial area, another property to Opa-locka. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And we're closing public hearing. I'm sorry. We're reopening public hearing.
I don't know if the technical division, okay. First of all, Robert Holland on behalf of Madani. I think there's a lot of confusion, and I think it's being generated for some reasons that could put everybody in some trouble. I'd be very honest with you. I've always come before you, and I'm always very honest to you when I come. As most of you all can tell from the application, if we can go to slide number 2. They have a mouse for me to work it, or they can work it back. All right. As most of you know where this land is located, this is over 40 years, if not 50 years of stockpiling contaminated things. The contamination on this site is so deep and pervasive that you can't do residential on here. And sometimes it is difficult to sit down with folks who don't understand the science of development. People tend to just make these knee-jerk reactions. Oh, we think this should be this. So first of all, this site is extremely contaminated. The next slide, please. We're asking for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change from townhouses to industrial. Rezone the property from townhouse to light industrial. The development agreement, all that stuff should follow. Normally, all these things come at one time. For some reason, in this process, only the land use was bifurcated out, even though all of these things were filed. Back in October, we were scheduled for a hearing in November. It never took place. We were scheduled for a hearing in December, never took place. January never took place. February never took place, despite a state law that gives you 180 days to bring these things to hearing. So we recognize there was an effort to run the clock out. So you see what the requests are. Slide number, the next slide, please. This is what the site looked like, the unregulated site, with all the history of the construction debris and demolition debris. And so significant contamination. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So as a result of that, there was environmental phase assessments done on this property. Environmental phase was prepared by Terracon Consultants in conjunction with the city of Opa-locka through a federal grant. There was over 1,000-page report. It took 9 months to complete, tens of thousands of dollars. Next slide, please. Here's what the scope of work was on this site. Ground penetration radar, test and observation soil excavation pits, 19 of them. Advanced soil borings, 20 soil borings. Installation of vapor points, 9 of those. And groundwater monitoring wells, 20. Next slide, please. And so what happens when they do these tests, they break them up into 2 different categories: residential thresholds and commercial thresholds, which determines what you can build on these properties based on the toxins that are in this ground. The toxins just don't disappear. Next slide, please. When you look at the soil tests on the excavation pits, of the 19 pits, 22 contaminants are above the residential direct exposure level. Of the 5 pits, only 5 commercial pits were above that level. When you look at the soil borings, 20 of those borings, 15 are above the residential capacity and only 3 with the commercial, which means, next slide after that, which means this site here will never be used for residentials, and I'll tell you why. It's virtually impossible for a developer, for a non-developer to understand this sometimes. Oftentimes, lay people misunderstand the science and feasibility of development. Your staff is recommending denial merely on the idea that they think mixed use would be the best fit. The problem with their idea is this: it defies development logic. For mixed use to work on this or even residential on this site with the extremely high concentration of residential or toxins, your buildings would have to be so high, your density, So I heard the manager mention, and I was a little shocked that this application, which is in a legal process before you, would be considered as part of a workshop when you have paid for a legal process to proceed zoning and land use. It is tinkering on tortious interference with a contract. And I'm going to get into some of that stuff because it's going to put the city in a world of trouble, unfortunately. And I didn't want to go there. I always try to be a friend and figure this out. But in order for this site to be developed residential, and I heard the statement made in your workshop that other sites with toxins have been developed for residential. He never told you what the level of those toxins were on those sites. And I want you to look at Midtown, and I want you to look at Solomia, and look at the thousands of units that are developed on that land and how high those buildings are in order to offset the price of remediation to get those properties where you could do residential on that. You don't have that capacity on this land. This land would not be allowed. Anything over 3 stories requires you to put pilings into the ground, which means you now stir up more of those toxins when you go deep down with the pilings in order to do this mixed use. Because mixed use requires some commercial on the bottom and residential on the top. And the volume of residential you would need to eradicate the toxins to make this where people could actually live on it, that you would be approving, you don't want to take that chance. Because a part of that lawsuit will be this city, because you now have direct knowledge of what those scientific levels of toxins are. That residential will not go there unless you can eradicate them. And even if the city gets another grant, it wouldn't be enough to take away the toxins to the level that would be about bringing this property to residential use for the volume that will be required. Whatever the land costs are and the remediation, all that stuff, that goes into your overall total project. So the city tells you, well, we think residential can go there. They didn't tell you that it's already been at least 10 residential companies. Go to the next slide, please. New Rock has had the property under contract twice. Richmond has terminated their contract on it. Hote Homes terminated their contract on it. Lennar, D.R. Horton, Related, Ryan Homes, Cornerstone, Landmark, all of these major housing developers have had contracts or looked at this land. And when they found out the toxins that are on here, they recognized not suitable for development. When we went before the planning board, as fate would have it, there was 2 items there. Ran across a client there. They're not on this list. They had a contract to develop this for residential. Say the toxins are too high. He asked me, what was I there on? And I told him, oh, I hope you're doing industrial. And I said, it's funny you mentioned that. Why? And he goes, well, we had a contract. It won't work. I got a call from Willie Logan. What is this project you working on? So I called him. I talked to him. He said, oh, shoot. I had a contract for residential on it too. Won't work. This is not me making this up. This is not me guessing, oh, I think this would be a great place for an ice cream parlor. That's not how development is done. If you put residential on this property with these toxins, you run the risk of the city being sued and anybody else that absorbs those toxins in their skin. The reason you can do commercial and industrial, because there's an easier cap you can put on for those uses to allow those to be developed, and you're not building so many stories, so they don't impact the ground as much. And so when people tell you they think and they've never developed anything, they've never built a building, they've never sought finance, you can't even get financing for residential on this site. And so when I see that as part of your parks program, when you're talking about some of the things, maybe we can do a joint venture with them. You're on the legal process right now. You have violated that legal process already. You violated with all the delays in the process as well. So there's so many things. In fact, the manager mentioned that the city has an interest in buying the land. Well, that was mentioned some time ago. The client gave them a letter of intent. You know, be serious, let's go ahead and do a letter of intent. Never happened. Never happened. But it's in your board, it's before you today as a possible joint venture, which means you're saying you're willing to kill this in order for it to become a city development or a residential development. Since residential won't happen, it has to be something that the city has a desire to do. And so that's a big problem. We go to the next slide, please. In addition to the residential uses, my client sat down with your city staff over a year or so ago because there was the idea of a hotel. He was open to a hotel. You got somebody who want to develop it with a hotel despite the toxins, and they're willing to get the approval, we're fine. Guess where that went? Nowhere. The people they brought to the table said, no, the toxins are too high, because it too requires verticality with people. And it opened those toxins, open up that verticality will open up the ground even more, and it runs a risk. So the hotel said no. Then I was asked, can you see if Costco's will come here? Publix, any number. You look at this list. Aldi's, Publix, Winn-Dixie, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Bravo Supermarket. All these folk were reached out to. All said no. They tell you what sizes they're looking for, but the main thing, a lot of them, some of the smaller ones like the Dollar Tree and the Family Dollars, some of them pointed to the crime stats of the city. Next slide, please. So what do we propose? I listened to some of the things this council has said. Since we know we can get industrial built, and we didn't want this to be something speculative. This isn't where Madani comes in and gets this rezoned and sell it. I understand how somebody might have that concept. The gentleman that was up here earlier. This is where Madani's seeking to move their headquarters to the city of Opa-locka. So they're talking about a retail component, kind of like you had Levitt's Furniture and Modern Age and all those folks, a retail furniture spot with storage and the ability to also do logistics. That's what you're talking about bringing here to this site. You're talking about bringing some jobs here, and this is not your low-end furniture. This is not your low-end. They're talking about making their headquarters here in the city of Opa-locka, not creating another dollar store or a pawn shop or a service station. This is about bringing real economic development to a city that you can be proud of. Next slide, please. Madani is in 7 states. They're ranked in the top 100 firms. They have several places here, one in Midtown and one in Aventura. They're talking about consolidating those things and making their headquarters in your city. This is the site plan. Next slide, please. So this is what we're proposing. The front facility will be the Madani facility, where they have the retail, the warehousing, the logistics stuff operate up the back. They've already worked with the state of Florida, Department of Transportation, to create ingress and egress off of State Road 9. So it does not go through the residential neighborhood. That was a concern. It didn't go through the residential neighborhood. I heard a comment from the planning board member who said that they rejected it based on certain things. First of all, it was a 3-2 vote, and it stayed kind of dormant for a while. The questions that were raised about pavement and stormwater drainage and all that stuff, we addressed those there. We have to meet stormwater retention. Durham requires us to maintain all water on site. So it wasn't like that wasn't known. The boogeyman was put out there to say, oh, this is bad. We don't know what all this is going to happen. Your development staff knows Durham is going to require that from a Brownsfield site. You have to go above and beyond to secure that anything that happens on that site remains on that site. So that was bull. When you talk about traffic, you're talking a water park and some possible water that might be contaminated out there, and all these kids running around in a water park on a contaminated site. And you think that's what the best use is, that Opa-locka will approve and run the risk of being liable for that approval when you knew about the toxins? But even if you do a water park, you imagine the volume of traffic for a water park? If you do buildings that are in the style of Midtown and Aventura or Solomia, imagine the volume of traffic that is there versus an industrial site that typically closes at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. But that was, again, trying to bring, city kept saying they wanted a retail component, even to their warehousing components, because they wanted to be able to come shop and do things. They wanted something that gave you some presence in the city. And this is one of the first buildings you will see as you come into the city. Next slide, please. Again, a front picture of what we're proposing on the front part of the facility. Next slide, please. Now, this is the rear, the second building in the back. That's not for industrial use. You've been telling me for the longest, you wanted other kind of recreational uses in your city. So you're talking about an indoor soccer park, you're talking about pickleball, you're talking about paddleball, possible bowling alleys. All those things bring uses into your community that your community now has access to come in and enjoy themselves. So again, thinking outside of the box. This is not just your regular warehouse. I understand the fog that people have with the old warehousing in Opa-locka. You look at the features of how the place is designed. Beautiful design on it. Next slide, please. This is what the place proposed to look like in the evening. So you don't walk into a dark, you don't drive down the street where it's just a dark road. You see, when you come into Opa-locka, you see something majestic when you come into Opa-locka. Next slide, please. We also talked about hoping to work along with the city because it is the entry point coming into the city. This is just a sign that says, welcome to the city of Opa-locka, but trying to create some sort of monumental sign that you know when you've just entered the city of Opa-locka. You don't have that anywhere in your city right now. So this being one of the gateways coming into your city, they would have that along with all of the signage of what will be on that site. Next sign, please. This shows you the new dedicated state road accessing the neighborhood. I mean, there's a void accessing the neighborhood come right into the site. Next slide, please. Again, we talked about the prospect of new jobs and retail activation. They're willing to participate in the Opa-locka's job fairs, obviously consistent with whatever your development agreement says. They're willing to offer the Opa-locka residents a discount on all of their furniture. So if you have an Opa-locka ID, you get a discount on your furniture. The second building, as I mentioned, would target recreation and family-oriented uses such as paddleball, indoor soccer field, kid playgrounds. Next slide, please. This gives you kind of an example of what we're talking about when you look at these pictures here of going there. Next slide, please. And again, as I talked about, the welcome to Opa-locka sign. So I heard you talking about the park stuff. My client has already put $100,000 in a scholarship fund for Opa-locka residents. He offered 2 years ago to put $100,000 in Ingram Park to help out there. This was even before this application was filed. I had another client that's already been approved on industrial over at the off of Lejeune, who, and I didn't say this as part of an item when it appeared because it wasn't meant to be a part of it. They offered $100,000 to go to your parks program. And I have still been waiting for those 2 years for a plan that allows them to put that $100,000 in, because I want to make sure Opa-locka gets developed right, and not the service stations, not the dollar store, things that bring real jobs into this community that people can build a life around. And you get fought over some speculation of we think we can put tall residential buildings on this contaminated land, despite all of the experts in housing, from Willie Logan to Related to the laundry list of folk that I mentioned, telling you won't work. But you have folk on your staff who've never developed housing telling you we think it will work. Not the experts. It will give you no expert opinion as to how they can develop this land with residential. And then the big box. I've reached out to Costco, reached out to Publix, all those grocery stores, all saying no. This isn't just somebody saying, oh, we just want to do this here. This has been years of going back and forth with this staff trying to find a way to make this happen. And then you come in today and you see a presentation before you prior to this that says, well, we're also looking at this other land that we don't own as a possible joint venture. Don't go down that legal road and put yourself in harm's way when you've seen here on the record the toxicity at this site, the levels that are still there, the housing folk that have rejected it, the commercial folk that have rejected it, and you're talking about doing things that are contrary to all of those experts because it sounds good. It may sound good, but it's undoable. And you'll end up in court, and I'm not saying, to me, I never want to say that kind of stuff. But I came in for a very mild presentation today until I came into the workshop and noticed that, like, You cannot do that. It is legally impermissible. It violates all of your codes to say this city that currently has an application pending before it is saying we're looking at doing something with this private property in a joint venture with ourselves. You can't do that. Those are the things that have gotten this city into trouble in the past. And I'm trying to caution you on it because the best way of developing it, based on all the other folk, the industrial. And I'm not talking about industrial where you're manufacturing and you're creating more toxins. We're talking a high-end furniture store with things that kids can come to in the real buildings and do things that activate this community. So it's not a water park. It's not going up several levels where you're creating all this impact on the land. It's something that is single story and a half. It can accommodate the toxins that are on that land because you can cap that. But if you're not paying attention to the science and you go by the lipstick on a pig, I think you put yourself in harm's way of not getting this property on the tax rolls. The other thing that is beneficial to this site is because it's industrial, it does not erode your tax base in the standpoint of what it takes. You don't have to pay solid waste to go there. You don't have to pay a fire to go there. All the money that they pay back in your property taxes help to go into the other services within your community because industrial sites are donor sites. They're donor sites. And you've heard me say that before. They add to your tax base versus taking from your tax base, which allows you to not have to always raise your tax rates. I heard residents bring that up earlier when you're talking about some of your park stuff. What does that mean? Our taxes going to go up when we pay for this stuff here? Because you're not going to get it all in grants. You're not going to get all this money for your park stuff that you want to do in grants. You got to tighten the belt somewhere. And the best way to tighten it is by bringing in uses that don't bear on your expenses. And this is, again, one of those. So it is truly the city's prerogative on how they proceed on this. But I can tell you, it's been so many issues that have been placed on the record. And I want to make sure that we incorporate the planning and zoning board's record into this, as well as the park workshop record minutes into this hearing as well, because it is extremely important what has been happening to kind of backdoor this development from taking place for developments that can't even begin to be built on this site. So with that, I'm open to any questions the council may have.
Any questions?
Madam Vice Mayor, couple of questions, and everybody knows I've been trying to figure something with that Cuyahoga site for years. I'm not in favor, obviously, of trucks going down Rutland or Wilmington or Service. But I do know that there have been a lot of folks who've come and gone and have not stuck around. I know money's been spent on Brownsfield for Brownsfield 1 and 2 and phases that have not really produced anything more than what we already know, that it's a challenge site. I really just want to go to one of your slides here. I see Madani, I know the company. I just want to go to one slide, which is the one that dealt with the access to the state road. I'm trying to see what number, it's not numbered. Accessing to come in and out or whatever.
The best view of it would be if you look at the first pictorial. I'll show you this one here.
Right. No, I saw that. I'm talking about really going out to State Road 9.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking the question. You've already had discussion, I'm assuming, with the state on coming in and out, et cetera, from State Road 9 and to make that the main way of coming in and out. Okay. I will say this to my colleague, because when I saw this kind of separated out, I was wondering why it was all bifurcated as well, because normally we get these things almost in a 3 or 4 lump package. So when I saw it separate out, I was kind of concerned about that. But I do know at this point, there are a lot of folks come and gone. in terms of businesses that have not chosen to stay there and develop this particular site for whatever reason. It's almost like choosing the worst of the best, nothing against Madani, but it's just choosing something that can be done because right now it's an eyesore. And residents complain all the time about it just being an eyesore. I've heard your statement. Management takes a different view. I heard what the wording from the planning council, why they rejected it. My biggest concern, and really to my colleagues, is if we're not going to allow industrial on there, and really that's not my first choice, then what are we going to wind up doing? Because I think even it was indicated earlier that to remediate it with some Brownsfield grants or dollars would be in the millions of dollars if you can even access them. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between the fact of just how much longer do we wait to see what kind of development we can get that would be residential. And I know over the years, and I've been here 20 years, a lot of folks come and gone, talked about residential, but have never done any residential on it because when they run up against that Brownsfield and the contamination, that's always been a major sticking point. My point is really the traffic for the residential, trucks, et cetera. And to me, having the in and out from State Road 9, and you also, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I need to ask staff that or the manager's office, because I've seen in other areas where at certain hours or times you could restrict trucks from coming in certain area. Madam Vice Mayor, can I ask the manager to have staff weigh in on that?
Yes, we actually do have a presentation required to provide to you by staff regarding this item so that you will be making an informed decision, not based on conjecture, prepared by the Community Development Department.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes, sir.
y'all should have came first then.
Well, public hearing has to come
Okay,
first.
well, then I'll wait and hear their presentation.
All right.
Before I move any forward.
Can you pull the other presentation up? Gerald Lee, Planning and Community Development Department.
Do we have that? We have that? We have that
No,
presentation?
I didn't bring copies. Okay. I'd like to thank Mr. Holland for his wonderful presentation. And he provided a lot of information about the site. Staff is aware of what has been proposed. This is a land use change that they were asking to do on this site. Next slide. Next slide. The owner has gone painstakingly to remediate the site, and they have done that to the level of what's required for commercial or industrial. Next slide. Of course, we all know where it is. Next slide. As the applicant is concerned about developing the site, their development is not based on what is available for the site. What's available for the site based on the zoning is for residential development and mixed use. Of course, they've already explained the level of contaminants and so on and so forth, what that requires, and staff has to go along with what has been adopted by the commission for the comp plan and for the zoning. With that being the case, this would be a change in direction from what our plan has said and what the zoning allows. They're saying that it's impossible to get there, and we're saying it may not be immediate, but we can get there. If the commission decides that they'd like to go in a different direction, this would be an opportunity for that change to occur. Next slide, please. Next slide. This just shows the location of the uses that are nearby, not uses from zoning, but uses from the comprehensive plan. Next slide. As has been stated by Mr. Holland, this site can be developed, and they would like to develop it for industrial, but the city wants or desires to bring about uses that are going to be compatible with the neighborhood and with the area. With that being the case, without a change of land use or zoning, this development can't happen. The staff's recommendation based on that is that we continue with what we have and that we look forward to obtaining the monies through grants and partnerships to do what we need to do. We don't want to encumber litigation concerning this. So, with that being said, our recommendation has not changed. And we still look forward to developing the site for residential and mixed use. That's the city stance, that's the department stance. Now, if the commission wants to take it in a different direction, then you'd go contrary to our recommendation and do something different based on your desire to move the city in a different direction based on this property. That's all I have.
Madam Vice Mayor,
Thank you. Yes.
I need first I need the presentation that you just gave.
Yes, sir.
That's number one. Number
Everything
two,
happens.
you're saying that the city has other ideas that are gonna, for this site. My challenge is that site has been there so long. And the city, not the manager, but the city, y'all in that department been there for a long time. I have not seen where we come with this commission to apply for 20 million in grants for Brownsfield, for Cuyahoga, or some other agreement or partnership or something for that particular site that's been sitting there.
Yes.
So to say to me and to my colleagues even, I'm not gonna say for me, I can't speak for them, to say to me tonight, we're thinking about doing this, so we prefer to do that with residential. To me I'm really challenged with it. I'm past pause. I'm challenged with it because all of us have been around for a while. The folks live in that area, nothing has changed. Now, community development went out somewhere and got someone 5 years ago or 3 or 4 folks and came to this commission and said, you know, we're going to build residential and then backed out. Fine. That has not taken place. Hasn't got that far. Hadn't got that far. So now you're here telling us now we've got potential plans for residential. When we all know it's going to take, and I'm going to ask you because you're a professional, how much do you think Brownsfield money will take to remediate that? Because you've been around. I'll ask your expert opinion since you're the building official.
It'll be in the millions.
How many?
10.
$10 million. So, and I'm not in the legislature, but I've been to Tallahassee a few times. I don't see anywhere where there's $10 million sitting in one pot for Opa-locka. Now, there's Brownsfield money out there. There's billions of dollars, but Opa-locka accessing 10 million at one time is probably really challenging. And if we were going to do that, we should have been doing it already, regardless of who wants to develop, regardless of these folks coming for a land change. So I'm challenged with that. But to hear you say now we possibly got some residential something that we could do without saying to this commission, because I tried to follow your presentation. All I'm hearing is we probably got something else we might can do. What are we going to say in the meantime? If nobody else wants to even come and develop it or look at it, we've had residential folks to come look at it before, haven't we? And they backed out because they've said what? No, don't do your hands like that.
It's costly.
The public can't see your hand. I see you doing that, but the public can't see your hand because of money. Economics.
Yes.
People don't mind building, but they want to make money, and that's the American dream. So it was not economically feasible for them to move forward based on the cost. Okay,
Commissioner
I
Curry?
won't hold you up any longer. I'll look at this while my colleagues are speaking or what have you, because I wanted to look at your presentation that you gave. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I wanted to clarify a statement that Mr. Lee made. He stated that from the city's perspective, and perhaps he was piggybacking some of Mr. Holland's thoughts, that the city wants to do residential. And the statement was also made that I want to do residential there. A lot of statements have been made tonight. So I want to clarify the record first on my position, not in opposition at all to this project. The process and some of the claims made as a city manager, of course, puts me in a defensive posture. But the notion that, as you all know, I'm always constantly trying to push development to you all for the growing of our city. Our population has been stagnant for some time, and that is a death knell to a city. We need to move projects. We need to have shovels and lands. And if this is a mode for the city to do that, then administration absolutely will do that. So the notion that there's some nefarious means afoot regarding this process, this application, that is just simply not the case. Both as assistant city manager and as your current city manager, I'm quite familiar with this project and have always tried to work with them to do whatever it was. When I was assistant city manager, we were trying to do a hotel, and then we tried to do. Before we had the little flying structures, we got one of the flying structures to do a video for this project to try to sell it. And the city actually, for some of the mitigations there, it was done with the first Brownsville grant. The city of Opa-locka got a Brownsville grant at that time, and we put about a couple $1 million on it. So if it be the will of the commission, absolutely, we will follow the will of commission on this. So I just want to, clarify the position that has been taken that the city of Opa-locka or the administration now are against this project somehow. Now, there are reasons why there's a recommendation for denial, both from the PZAB board, and thankfully we've had a member come and detail those reasons. But I also want to clarify from Mr. Lee, he's speaking as the zoning official. So when he says what the zone is, and that is his recommendation, that can absolutely be overruled by you. And absolutely, in some senses, it can be overruled by me. So he's not speaking for the city. That is not my position nor the position of administration that residential was feasible there. So just want to clarify that for the record.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, just one thing I want to put on the record, whichever way you all decide to go. I need to, for litigation purposes, potential litigation purposes, just let it be known for the record that Mr. Holland did refer to a workshop that took place prior to this meeting. Any statements that were made by the city manager, those statements were being made by the city manager. They had not resulted in any action of the city commission. There was no vote that took place. And in fact, one of the commissioners even stated that he just saw the information for the first time. So that whatever statements were made by the city manager, they were simply made by the city manager, and it had no impact on a vote of the city commission. And I just want to make sure that the record is clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Attorney.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all of this information. And truth be told, Mr. Hollis, I felt a little bit bullied by some words that you said. But I'm going to say I will support it for the first reading, and I would pray about it going forward, because I really felt a little bullied sitting here tonight hearing you present. And I don't like feeling that way. I don't want to be pressured to do anything. But I will give you that much. I will support it tonight. But I can't tell you that I'm going to support it going forward. But I would give you a chance.
If I may, I have spoken to many residents in that area over the last week. My last visit over there was Sunday, Even today, coming into this building, I had residents have a conversation with me about the property. I'm going to do the opposite of Commissioner Bass. I won't support this tonight. I don't know about the second reading. I will go back out again and talk to my residents and show them the very pamphlet that was given to me tonight. And we'll see what happened on the next reading. I must say that public hearing is still open. We never closed it.
You the gavel.
We never closed it. 2 minutes.
Well, let,
First of all, I do want to
Madam Vice
apologize.
Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, could we, since if you got a resident, can we hear them before Mr. Holland? Because that way he'll be last, because the resident been sitting here a long time. Let them weigh in if they want to speak.
Again, my name is Bridget Stallworth. I live at 14255 Northwest 21st Court. I agree with Commissioner Bass. I also felt bullied. I felt that the tone was do this or else. I did not like that. And I want you to think about this while you're talking about the egress that comes off State Road 9. I have to go to 2 schools in the morning to drop off my grandkids. When I come out of that area to try and get onto 22nd Avenue, they're not coming from State Road 9. They're coming from up 22nd Avenue, from down south, Liberty City, from other areas. I can't even get out of my street sometimes because of the traffic. You want to add more traffic in the back that's going to also come out. And then you're going to make it worse on the weekends, pickleball, soccer land. There's a soccer land on 135th. We already have one. We're going to make another one in the same area within less than 20 feet away. I mean, it's right there on the corner. We don't need another soccer land. Also, I don't see them going up 20 through your egress. I see them coming up, turning the corner like they do every afternoon, and I have to fight. I back into my driveway. I don't pull into my driveway, I back into it. I get cursed out. I get fingers pointing at me. I get all kinds of languages just to get into my own driveway because they think my street can get them, for some reason, across State Road 9. I don't know why they think they can get across State Road 9. And that's adding more traffic if those people can think that they can come and weave around, and because over there, it's my street, you turn.
Talking to the mic. Come back to the
You
mic.
turn several ways just to get back over there into that water. They're not gonna come up State Road 9. They're gonna come up 22nd, weaving in and out of traffic. You have kids on my street all day long on their bicycles, on those little scooter things. And they're always hopefully not getting hit because we have those 2 the humps in the road, thank goodness. But people don't see that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They're just flying down my street. They go over the hump like it's like they're flying in a spaceship. You're bringing more traffic to a place that does not need it. You have the 27th Avenue. Jackson has that old maternity ward. Why didn't you? That's a nice area. You're right on 27th Avenue. It's a big open space. You have all that traffic. People will stop and say, "Oh wow, let me turn in here." Instead of in the back with a bunch of people's houses. You have, like you said, where modern age was, where all those warehouses are, there are some places in the back there that would probably be well fitted back there. They can drive down that long street under the arch. Oh, this is nice. They
Thank
can go over
you.
there. Why where we live?
Thank you. Public hearing is still open.
Right. Brian Dennis, 21, address 2140 York Street. I think what we're not paying attention to is the business. The business of the city. And from what was shown on the presentation, the majority of that traffic comes through State Road 9. It doesn't go through the backside of through the residencies. My concern, and this is my concern, because every time a project comes in the city, Nobody from Opa-locka ever works. There's never an agreement. I don't care what they say in community development about, it's always an agreement. The agreement is never forced. It is never enforced. According to 95-6 of the city charter, any entity coming within the city of Opa-locka must hire the residents. So now we're looking at whole construction. Looking at the whole construction, they talk about a job fair. So now let's go back to the old Opa-locka swap shop. They had a whole construction project, had a job fair, wasn't hardly nobody there. I came to it, and nobody worked on the project. Let's go to the new buildings on 22nd Avenue, the apartment building that just built. No residents there. Nobody from the city worked on that project. Nobody had the opportunity to make anything. Now, we don't know when these developments come in, who's the property managers on those developments. So who's going to control who gets in and out of the city? Who's going to occupy those domains, those apartments? See, the business of the city has to be taken into an account, and you have to look at it for what it is. My proposal, and I understand what the lady just said, Ms. Stallworth just said, if you're going to use that interest where Cuyahoga was, how everybody, wall it off. Wall it off, separate it from the residential, and then you have all that commercial. But there has to be an agreement that when construction starts, that the residents of this city have to benefit it. We got everything in the city charter, but we won't enforce it. We do everything. We violate the city charter on just a simple get a job. And then it's on that east side. And I said this to somebody tonight. Do you know where the majority of my boot campers come from that I'm dealing with in Miami-Dade County First and Life Sentences that come from Opa-locka? They come from the east side. Don't have a park. We see everything going wrong over there. So I'm in support of it if it got teeth in it. If it got some teeth, that it could be enforced, that people are going to make some money, some real serious money doing the construction project, and have an opportunity to work there, but they got to separate that residential area has to be walled off from the commercial.
Thank you.
Just 2 minutes. First of all, Commissioner Bass, I do want to apologize. It's been a little frustrating with the process, so I apologize if I did come off as a bully, and I would never want to do that. And if I offended you, I'm really sincerely apologetic about that. As it relates to the wall on the west side of the property, there will be a wall. In fact, commercial developments require that. So there will be no access from those residential streets into the site. It would have to come along State Road 9. And we can work on something with the manager as it relates to the egress and ingress hours to kind of divert traffic going towards the Golden Glades Exchange at certain hours. I'm sure we'd be more than willing to do that. And as it relates to compatibility, because it sits out there, it is compatible with the community because it will not be interfering with the residential roads inside Commissioner Urban where the residences are. There's no traffic on those roads there. And as it relates to the type of uses in the back building, that's for us to kind of work with the city on who we can find tenants. It doesn't have to be soccer. We were just saying it would be recreational kind of uses so that potentially, gymnasiums or whatever could come in with the gymnasts or whatever and create a function whereby which kids can now come in and have a safe place that they can come and do their thing. So we were trying to come up with a way that was compatible with the community, with the retail, with recreational services, the uses that could be built versus not be built, and ultimately get this property off the record as an eyesore with not producing revenue back to the city. That was the whole intent with the application.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing is now closed.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. I think since this is obviously first reading and it has one more to go, I think the applicant has heard the concerns that raised, but I also think we have to figure out a way to make sure folks in the community understand exactly what is taking place and the real options. Because I too here, don't want trucks coming on the street, don't want to hear this, want to see housing. I think, we would love to, but I think the misnomer is thinking what can be there and doable economically and feasible as opposed to what can't be there. And I appreciate the citizens coming up some of the traffic because we need to deal with that whether Madani comes here or not, because I've been talking about that forever, the traffic that comes off of 22nd trying to get around. So that needs to be addressed irregardless of this application. I would just kind of urge my colleagues to support this on first reading. And yeah, 'cause I really would hope the whole commission will be here for the next one because I think it's of that magnitude and also allows any questions as we go back out into the community that they may have, because I know many of them watching, what can be on this site or property versus what can. And you heard the manager himself say that he's not really opposed to the project. It's actually a commission decision because trust me, if we could have put residential or housing on this location, I would have been pushing it for the last 20 years. It's just not been economically feasible that folks want to invest that kind of money and trying to get the brownfield grants to do it. So we need to be able to do something, but it's commission decision. And Madam Vice Mayor, you got the gavel, so it's in your hands.
Thank you, Madam, any more? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
No.
Motion fails.
Fail, the motion passes. There's a quorum here.
Okay, so it's my understanding there's a code section and I'll look for it that says that the majority is required whether a quorum is present or not. Okay, and I'll look for it if you give me a minute.
Madam Clerk, it has to go through a second,
Yes.
This
is
I
first
changed my
reading.
vote today for
Okay.
first reading.
Okay, so your vote, just for the record, Vice Mayor Urban, is yes for
Yeah.
first reading.
For first
So
reading.
motion passes 3-0 first reading.
But could you, Madam Vice Mayor, could you clarify that though for the future, please, and let us know regarding that 2-1 in case that ever happens again?
Will do.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Attorney.
Those are all of the items on the
We're on,
agenda.
I'm sorry, City Manager's report.
The hour is late, so.
It is.
So what we want to do is provide the commission with individual updates. And I'm always available to you if you have any questions or comments or concerns.
Thank you. Are there any official board reports?
Well, let me just say this, ma'am. The hour is far spent. I do have a lot of things, but I'll send them to the manager because the boss is here and I got to get out of here. Take him to dinner. He's in town, so I got to get out of here. So I'll send them to you, Mr. Manager, email. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Okay, and future agenda items, there's none.
Madam Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry. So I do have a request on behalf
Okay.
of the mayor for future agenda items. The mayor would like to bring forth legislation directing the city manager to install bus stop benches with coverings throughout the city.
Okay,
Madam Vice Mayor.
yes,
Oh, she finished?
I think so. You finished, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
I want to future agenda items bring back creating a city food pantry at the Ingham Park Senior Citizens Building as a future item, and also I don't know what, I don't know how to describe this one, but the Arabian Nights Festival plan. I guess I said like that. Cause I mean, we keep talking about Arabian Nights and I know it's a few dollars budgeted this year, but I hadn't heard anything about official plan. So I'd like to bring that back for whatever a discussion to plan or at least do something with that. Um, yeah, those are the two I have. How do we do that? Discuss it now.
Madam Vice Mayor,
Yes.
if you can go through each one of them, one by one, you'll need a vote on each one of them separately.
Okay, so for the mayor's legislation for requesting
Directing the city manager to install bus stop benches with coverings throughout the city.
okay,
If I may, Vice Mayor,
yes.
I would like to co-sponsor that. Can I do that without him being here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think that it would be an issue.
And our co-sponsor, I mentioned it one time before.
All of us have, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I need a motion, a second, and I need a vote on it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Kelly and second by Commissioner Bass.
Okay, but Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes,
Motion passes 3-0. So the next item, creating a food pantry at Siegel Park, which is Commissioner Kelly.
Have that word, having a manager to explore the feasibility, blah, blah, whatever that, you know, these future items are new to me, so whatever that language is, explore, putting a food pantry at Ingram Park and the scenes in the building there somewhere, yeah, that's it. Is that
Yes.
sufficient wording?
That's good enough.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Kelly. I need a second.
I'll second.
And Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
yes,
Motion passes 3-0. And then the last item, Commissioner Kelly's item, for the Arabian Nights Festival.
And I'm
plan.
not sure if it's need a resolution, but I haven't heard any discussion on it, so the only way to do it, I guess, is
can we do like a workshop so we actually
I don't know
talk
how to
and
get
plan
to
it?
it without going this route because we have put money in the budget to at least start it or do something. I haven't heard anything, so only way I know to get us to come up with something or do something is to have it in legislative form. I wouldn't hope or think that it needs to be in resolution form, but I don't know any other way to do it.
Vice Mayor, if I may, Commissioner Kelly.
Mhm.
I'm thinking that we should hold the commission for a workshop to incorporate that as well as the opening of our old City Hall building, so we can discuss everything at once.
I don't
I'm
know.
in
I don't have a
agreement.
problem. I mean, I don't know. Okay, I mean, I'm open to it. That's more of a workshop.
Right, so we can
yeah,
just
so
do
I don't
everything
need
at
to-
once and kind of be done with it.
Okay, so if we're going to do that, then I don't really need to put it in legislative form. I just put it on my report the next time. But in the meantime, I guess Commissioner Bass is suggesting holding the commission for a workshop to discuss that and reopening of City Hall. Hopefully it can happen within the next couple of weeks, the workshop. So when you poll us, thank you. Okay, well then I don't need to do the future item.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think we're finished with future agenda items. And next we have the mayor commission reports.
I'm good.
Okay, so
Well, you got
it's
to-
on you?
It's on me?
Yes?
Oh, I didn't ask the manager about it because I thought he was gonna give us the update on the Gloria the Gardens, whatever, because I know that's been a big issue, but I'll do my report. He can do that after. Under my report, we did restart our Feeding South Florida program at Siegel Park on last Friday. I know the autism program was going on. We did restart that. We are taking the data, name, addresses, so we can get an idea of how many Opa-locka residents are utilizing it. We are going to do some signage to make folks more aware. And also farm shares next Wednesday at the pavilion here at 10 a.m. We've been having a tremendous amount of people coming, running out of food really by 12 o'clock. So encourage residents to get there early for that. And I will leave the National Day of Prayer to Commissioner Bay.
He said, go ahead with it.
The National Day of Prayer, of course, is next Thursday. We're going to have two opportunities to celebrate and to pray and come together as a community, just like the nation will be doing. 11:45 a.m. at the Helen Miller Center. We're going to have an indoor service with a couple of sermonettes. We're going to have fellowship, praying for our community, praying for our state and nation with some refreshments. And then also a couple of our local pastors will be speaking English and Spanish. And also at 6 p.m., right in the same area where we had the manifest, we're going to have an outdoor fellowship service for the National Day of Prayer, because we do realize some people are working and can't get to the one middle of the day. So we're going to have one at 6 p.m. We invite the entire community. We've reached out to all of the local churches to be involved. And we look forward to everyone coming and being a part of the National Day of Prayer. And y'all know my pastor, so I end by this saying, we all need prayer, and there's power in prayer. And so as we move our city forward, we make sure that we don't leave that component out. Of course, I'm co-hosting with Commissioner Bass, but I know the entire commission is supportive and a part of it. So we welcome and invite the community and Mr. Manager, if possible. I don't know, any employees maybe want to come over on the lunch break, they can. We'll be there. We're going to have some refreshments as well. But we don't anticipate it being long anyways, about an hour in length. But we invite the community out to come for the National Day of Prayer. I think that's about it on my report. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. I'll be really, really quick because, yeah, it's been a while. I just want to say thank you to everybody that had anything to do with Manifest. It was an amazing event. I missed the first half, but I caught the second half. It was great. Alex, you did an amazing job. I know you didn't do it alone, but we've had several conversations while he was planning. He was a nervous wreck. It was a beautiful event. Also, the car show on Saturday. So sorry that the resident had issue with the noise, but I loved it. I love the noise because noise means alive. It was alive. We actually had a great time fellowshipping with the folk, and it was said that it was done annually, and I agree with the resident that I spoke to that it shouldn't be annually and shouldn't take that long to do another one. So hopefully it'll come back before a year is over. Not that's too long. And that's gonna be about it for tonight. Is time. So thanks to the police department. Thanks to everybody that had anything to do with all the events that we had this month. Thank you so much. And I think that's it, right?
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
As Commissioner Kelly had recommended, I do want to provide the reports that I do give normally under the mayor's report, which is financial oversight update and Gloria to Gardens update.
Okay.
So very, very quickly, Gloria to Gardens update. As I stated at our last commission meeting, the HUD has taken the position of abatement. That is at this time moving forward with a date uncertain. Upon mobilizing their contractors to support the residents in that effort. A new general partner for Gloria Gardens Apartments ownership has stepped forward. They've met with all the community partners, including the city of Opa-locka, HUD, and also some other community partners. They have proffered how to rehabilitate the property and demonstrated they have the capital to do so. So far, all of our requests, unlike the previous partner, have been answered in the affirmative. If HUD provides them with a chance, then there looks like there may be a path forward to provide the residents with what is required from my position, which is minimum housing standards. That consists of the update with Gloria to Gardens. We'll continue to meet with this new partner, meet with HUD to facilitate the best interests of our residents. In addition, with financial oversight, we are continuing to mobilize to complete our 2023 financial audit reports. So we are still within striking distance of submitting a timely report. Very, very excited to do that. We're requesting a January deadline, and we're going to be meeting with HUD to facilitate that. I've requested a meeting with HUD, excuse me, not HUD. I've requested a meeting with JLAG through our financial department director. We will provide you an update as soon as we have that. If possible, we certainly will submit it in even faster. We still are on record as the only city in the history of the state of Florida to submit 3 financial audit reports in 18 months. We continue to want to remain on that very, very winning, stellar path and believe that we can do so.
Just one thing for the manager. And
yes, sir.
I've been very nice trying to be on board tonight. When y'all are doing these workshops or presentations or could you all make sure y'all check with the clerk via us, because a lot of times y'all put it out, the fly out, and we don't know about it until, I think you got something. I just saw it today for next Thursday during the National Day of Prayer. And that's a tough fit because I think it's 4:00 or I forgot the time frame, but I know we got the 11:45, got the 6 p.m. and then whatever it is, it's right in the middle. That makes it very difficult. And a lot of times we want to be supportive, just like the bus that you had on Monday, but I don't know about my colleagues, but I had things planned I couldn't change. And I'm trying to figure out how do we come up with these dates and times without us really knowing, because it gives a bad appearance if we don't show up or not supportive when I think we are, but we got to do a better job of that. So whoever does those scheduling or reaching out, they could do that. And secondly, you said they got new partners, and I wasn't here last week, so maybe this is already, old news to me. To you all, but the agreement that was signed or whatever that they supposed to be paying the money, that's what I'm getting at. That's still in effect, even though they switched partners. They've signed. We've signed and they're paying the money or whatever they're paying, even though they're not the face or vocal point no more. That's what I'm asking.
Yes, yes, and I will confirm that the wire transfer was received.
Okay, because a lot of time with these LLCs, once they switch over, the money is not, they get out. Okay, as long as the money there. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just one follow-up for the manager. Do you know if have they signed the agreement?
They want to request if they they have it to their council. It has Kenneth Weiss' name, and they want to strike that. They want to know, can they strike that out, or do we need to submit to them a new document with a new signature block, since Kenneth Weiss is no longer a part of their team?
Well, the document does allow for minor changes with your approval in mind. And
absolutely,
since we're saying it in the public, and if that's an issue, I'm assuming one of you would let us know. But if that's the only barrier, I think that would be just fine.
Wonderful.
That's okay with the commission.
As long as they're paying the money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll get that done to you, Madam Attorney.
Okay, move a motion to adjourn.
Can't do it. I gotta do it.
I said I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Don't say nothing, Commissioner Bad. Let us stay here.
It was moved by Commissioner Kelly and second by Commissioner Bass. Good night.